weapon sets. They're probably the biggest thing that people have asked me about when it comes to Path of Exile 2. The struggle to understand how the passives apply to your weapon sets between weapon set 1 and weapon set 2. In addition to that, weapon sets can also help when calibrating different skills to help you determine which skills are used by which weapon set. And in this video today, I'm going to explain both of those subjects. Now, in my typical fashion of upfronting the content in my videos, the information in my videos, let me start by saying it's a very convoluted system, and I'm going to verbally explain it, and it's not going to make any sense until you see the actual visual in the next section. Hopefully this video is not too long. You can just kind of sit through it. But basically think of the weapon set passives as, rather than additional passives that you allocate on top of the max amount, they are passives that you allocate only on one weapon set versus the other, and you can swap them. So for example, if I have 4 available passives and I apply them to one weapon set, then when I switch to the other weapon set, I can apply those 4 in a different direction. But it's not 4 additional passives. It's very confusing, and you really have to see how it works in motion. In addition to that, though, you can also toggle your ability to use one weapon set or another with specific skills by pressing G to open up your skill tab. You'll see a little arrow where it says DPS. Press that button at the very bottom. It'll have a check mark for each of the weapon sets. You just check which one you want it to apply to. So if you have a one-handed weapon and a two-handed weapon, maybe you want the two-handed weapon to do a specific skill and the one-handed weapon to do another skill. Or maybe you have a bunch of different elemental weapons and you want to have one weapon do a specific element versus the other do the other element. You can do that through that capability, and I'll show all that off in the video. But if that's all you wanted to know, please feel free to go ahead and shut the video down. I want to respect your time and get you back into Path of Exile 2 having some fun. Before you head out though, please don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe if this video does end up helping you. Also, you can navigate to any part of the video that interests you using the chapters in both the timeline and the description. Lastly, I do stream this game, and I've been doing giveaways of early access keys. You can find my Twitch linked below. I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, so swing on by. So let's get started here on weapon sets explained in Path of Exile 2. Let's just dive on in on this. Now, I've gone ahead and refunded some passives to show this off. I was going to use a builder, but none of the builders really exemplify this properly. So right now, let's take a look up here in the corner. I have 4 skill points, meaning I have 4 passive skill points that I can invest in this tree, whatever direction I want to do. It's my main branch, whatever it is. Now, in addition to that, you're going to see weapon set 1 and weapon set 2. And at the end of it, you're going to see 4 followed by a parenthetical notation of 4. That parenthetical notation is telling you that is the max amount of passive points that you can apply to this weapon set. Same thing down here. So you don't get 4 additional points to invest. So if I go ahead and just press 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see it says 0. If I press weapon set 1, I don't get like 4 additional ones to go in a different direction. It's not how that works. So what we're going to do here, we're going to press cancel here, bring it back to 4. You have to press this little button, this play button. It says now you're allocating points for weapon set 1. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to put a point here and a point here. That allocates 2 of my 4 points. And then I'm going to click weapon set 2. And I'm going to press here and I'm going to press here. And you can see these are kind of grayed out, right? Now that does 2 of my 4 points as well. I still have 2 points that I could go ahead and keep allocating into this one if I so wish, or whatever direction I want to keep this going, I can go ahead and do that. But basically, you have to think of these weapon sets as mutually exclusive. I think that's the term I want to use for what I'm about to say. It's not that you get these in addition, like I've said before. So I'm going to confirm what I've just done. I'm going to apply this. And you're going to see that I've locked in those points. This branch is solid because that branch is weapon set 1. This branch is grayed out because that is weapon set 2. I'm going to come back to the game. And I'm using weapon set 1. I'm going to press X, come back into this. You can see that it is now solid. I'm going to press X from this screen. Boom. So it turns that weapon set on for you. I still have 2 more points that I can allocate however I want to. And putting those in whatever direction I want is going to make it for the main branch. I have to press, so if I go to now do this, that adds them to the main branch. not, and you can see that the weapon set number here for 2, now that they're added to the main branch, went from 2 out of 4 to now 4 out of 4, meaning I can now allocate 4 points. Not 4 additional. I know that's super confusing, but you can see my total number went down to 0. Just to recap that real quick. I'm using weapon set 1. It says 2 out of 4. Weapon set 2 says 2 out of 4. I have 2 more passive skill points left. These are part of weapon set 2. If I try to put them into the main parent branch of my passives, it frees them up out of weapon set 1 to be allocated elsewhere whenever I get passive points again, and they're out of weapon set 2. And I'm at 0 overall skill points. It's a super convoluted system. What I would honestly tell you is ignore this system until you're at the end or you're following a very set guide. It does allow for very nuanced gameplay, but it's really not going to make sense unless you really know what you're doing. Like if I was playing a sorceress or a witch or something like that, and I was up in this section, it would make a lot of sense. Hey, I'm going to have one weapon set dedicated solely to frost magic. That's all right here. Boom. All I need to do is get this node right here, and I can do that at my leisure. Then the other weapon set is going to be dedicated to this. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense while you're leveling unless you have a very specific use case in mind. Honestly, I would ignore this mechanic until we understand more about it, and it's a better fleshed out system, and we just understand how skill points come to your character in conjunction with when weapon set specialization points come to your character. I think right now, as you're leveling, as you're getting to max level, at least to 65, just completely ignore it, or follow a guide from someone like a Woody Joe or a Rax or a Mr. Llama, people that are way smarter than me, that know, that can see the matrix and put you into this. But basically, like I said, you're just getting the ability here to swap these passive points on a whim based off of however many points you invest of your passive points into that weapon set. 4 minutes of your time that are way too confusing than they need to be. Again, ignore it until you really know the system. Let's talk now about how weapon sets can be influenced or used on your individual weapons to get a lot more use or punchy power out of them. When it comes to your weapon sets and your individual skills, we're going to press G, bring up our skills over here, and on the left side of the screen, we're going to see all this information. So you can see it says 1, 1, 1. It's basically telling you that that's the weapon set that's applied to this weapon. If I go ahead and press, you can see that it says 1 for most of them still. I'm going to swap back and forth. So let's go to Rolling Slam. I'm going to swap back and forth between 1 and 2. Okay, so it says 106. Let's take a look at Bone Shatter. 155. Pretty much, it doesn't really benefit me to go to my second weapon set, and I knew that going into this video, but let me show you how this works. I'm going to click this button. At the bottom here, you get some information. Always attack without moving. You can turn that on if you want, or use with weapon set 1 or 2. By default, this will be set like this. I don't like that for a lot of my weapons because I'm playing a warrior, where I'm pretty much bouncing between a one-handed mace and a two-handed mace, if I even want to bounce between those two things. And what I've noticed is, oops, that's not what I meant to do. What I've noticed is this can be pretty advantageous or detrimental. And it's going to be useful more, I would say, for a monk or for a sorceress or anyone who's going to be bouncing across different elements and wanting to pull different elements into their build. Maybe you're using a bunch of frost magic as a sorceress, so you want to use that weapon set 1 with that specific staff, whatever it is. With both of these toggled on, what this does is I can press this button and you'll see I'm just kind of using my mace. If I swap, it'll still use whatever weapon I have equipped. Otherwise, I would have to press a manual button or switch it, either like you do a manual button to switch it to the weapon, or press X to manually switch your weapon. So either use a skill that swaps it, again, like that, or press X to swap it, to get yourself to go back to whatever it is to do when you have both of them selected. It's really scary to do that, because what can happen is I'm using this weapon, my one-handed weapon. It's quite quick. Now let's see what happens when I go ahead and make it so this is only on weapon set 2. The amount of time that took to start, if I went from this back with my one-handed sword or mace. Now I'm going to press the button. You can see how long it took to activate that skill versus if I just have this set to, typically whatever the higher damage amount is, right? it just goes immediately, gets right into it. So if you're swapping between weapons, just consider that when you do the weapon set swap, it's also going to take time away from the activation of that skill. It's not going to activate right away just because you did it. It's not like Thrones in Liberty where you press the button and smash, you're right into that weapon skill and you're back to whatever your parent one was. No. When you use a skill that swaps your weapon set, you will stay on that weapon set until you use another skill that swaps you back to the previous weapon set, or like I said, you press a button that manually swaps you. So this is a great technique for a lot of classes, and you can really get a lot of mileage out of it. Just know the limits of it. It's going to slow down slow weapons. It's going to slow down going from a one-handed to a two-handed, which again, I'm going to have more DPS with the two-handed version, right? It says 122 versus 106, but going with most of my stuff, which is one-handed, to the 9 seconds it takes to kind of swap over. Oops, sorry, I'm going to do that. The 9 seconds it takes to swap over to the two-handed, it's going to put you out. It's going to expose you. So just know those things. Also with weapon sets, you can just roll in the middle. You can't cancel it, but you don't have to wait for the animation to end. So make sure you use this to your best of your ability. Use these little weapon set things down at the bottom to get the most out of specific weapons, finding out which ones do the most damage. And if it's grayed out, that means that weapon set is not currently active. If it's filled in like this, that means the weapon set is currently active. As you can see, I'm on weapon set 2 because I have my two-handed weapon out and it's filled in. When it's kind of grayed out like this, it's weapon set 1. It is not active. So this is how weapon sets work in this game. It's not terribly convoluted on this portion of it, but the passive section of it is very convoluted. So if you've found a lot of success with your weapon sets, go ahead and let it be known in the comment section below. It's definitely something that I was initially looking at to build into all my characters and how I was going to approach it. But now after playing so much with the weapon set passives, trying to get it to work and understanding it, and also, keep in mind, if you go to refund the passives on this, it costs you a lot of money. It costs you a lot of money to refund weapon set passives. So I would recommend, again, you wait to play with weapon set passives unless you really know that you're going to bounce between two separate branches of your main tree and two separate elements or whatever it is, because it's going to, like, I have 0 gold. I started this video with like 2K and I lost all of it doing all the refunds for this video. So just keep that in mind going into this. I would really ignore the system until you can really take advantage of it. And like I said earlier, until we really know more of how it's going to interact with your character and when their skill points hit the character. None of us are level 100 yet, so none of us have that real top-down view that you got from like a Path of Exile 1 veteran who knows, oh, at this level, you have this many points because of this many quests were completed and what have you. So just wait a little bit longer to tap into it. And if, again, you have any information you want to share, go ahead and let it be known in the comments section below. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.